Jsou prosím vás, přátelé, nějaký novinky okolo... Jo, tak tohle to je trailer na Call of the Void. Tohle má být jakoby pokračování jedničky od lidí. Tak já ten takový pustím, jo, myslím, co tam je.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Hydro online.
Ty meč, ty tomu tak rozumíš. Máš místo mozku zpěvat.
Dohráno, jo.
Current location, dead zone.
Ale.
Depth, 800 meters. Distance to signal, 1 kilometer. Radar contact.
Bude to všechno na YouTube. Všechno. Aha, to je nový biom. Ne, to jsou floatingy tohleto, že jo? A teď jak dlouho to dělají? Jak to dlouho dělají? Dlouho. Tohle je trojka, ne, to je fanmade mod. Jako otázka, že tam je content, no. Jo, takže to je Hydra, to je nějaký jakoby kříženec mezi Simotem a Cyclopsem tohle, jo. Aha. Tak to jsme toho kam moc neviděli. A tohle je přímo z gameplay.
Oxygen reserves low. Shields offline. Jump drive offline. Anomaly detected. Get closer. Anomaly detected. Anomaly detected. Get closer. Anomaly. Come closer.
Mhm.
Come closer. Come closer. Anomaly catalog. All repairs recommended.
Tohle je kámo to zajímavý. To se zdá, že on takoby protahuje tu základní hru, třeba o kilometr jakoby doprava. Do Voidu, že? Co vidím já? To je hezká ryba. More info coming soon. Počkej, takže to je teprve 3 měsíce starý tohle. OK. Jo, takže ty máš procházet Void a evidovat leviatany a hledáš ostrovy. Ježíš, to se děláš prdel, kámo, ze mě. Ježíš, to je strašný. To je doslova jak ten dead mod. Akorát jakoby playable, ty vole, no. Tohle je od lead devu? Takže jak tam přímo jakoby ukazuju, že má jakoby nějakou část hotovou tak dále, OK. No budu se těšit, no. Proč ne, ty bláho. Tak a pojďme se teda podívat na to, jak je tam Subnautica 3. Tohle to jsou poslední novinky na Subnautiku 3. Počkej, a jako co z toho je co? Tohle je ono, myslím, že jo.
The world of Subnautica. I still remember playing this for the first time and beating it. It's one of those games that you could just never get the same experience as your first time playing it. And then we have the sequel to it, Subnautica Below Zero, released actually a while ago in 2019, and it doesn't even seem that long ago. Well, I have gathered you here because we have more news on Subnautica 3, or at least that's what I'm going to call it for now because it has no official name to it yet. Today I'll take a deeper dive into the sequel, or at least some time in the universe of Below Zero or Subnautica, talk about elements we wish to see in the game, everything that we know so far, and what the community would want to have, such as story.
Je to strašně jednoduchý. Já bych chtěl, aby vzali jedničku a udělali tak třeba 10krát větší. Ty úplně mi to bohatě stačí. To je prostě, kdyby se někdo zeptal, jakého bych chtěl dalšího asasína, tak je vemte Origins a udělejte to znova. Prostě není potřeba jakoby dělat nic dalšího, ta hra je hotová, funkční, jo, ano, a ne, ano, přesně tak, a nejít do šířky, ale do hloubky. Souhlasím.
Storytelling and progression of the game. So the first confirmation that we have of Subnautica 3 is a new job alert that was posted all the way back in 2022 titled New Job Alert for the next game in the Subnautica universe, confirming that there will be a sequel or some type of sequel. Now if we take a look on how long Subnautica and Below Zero were in development for, we can see that the game should be releasing around 2025.
Můžete si to představit, že bychom dostali předběžný přístup na Subnautiku 3 a dali bychom s Nakašim koop. Bychom máme zbořili scénu prostě úplně jako. Tady prostě podle mě taky, že tady nejsou dva jiný lidi, kteří hrají Subnautiku takhle aktivně. Jako úplně holy shit, ty vole.
Now, this is just an estimate because Unknown Worlds, the people behind Subnautica and a variety of other games, said that in between 2024 and 2026, there would be a total of 36 games released. This including the next Subnautica game, probably. Considering that the...
No a je tady někdo jakoby jiný, kdo ty vole v Čechách hraje Subnautiku. Subnautica, CZ. Nakaši. Já, Bugs. No, to je všechno. Jako to je actually všechno. No. Což je takové ta neuvěřitelný vidět, no. Šílený. Ještě já, no ty máš taky velký YouTube, no.
The development time of Subnautica being from 2014 to its full release in 2018, a 4-year span compared to Below Zero's with a 3-year working period from early access to its full release of early 2019 to late 2021. With this, we can determine that on average...
Taky teda někoho nezajímá, to není pravda, ta hra ty lidi zajímá, akorát tomu lidi nechci dát šanci. Takže je pro ně jednodušší hrát Minecraft, který zajímá víc dětí. A já to chápu. Kdybych dělal content pro děti, tak bych taky radši hrál Minecraft. Já to úplně chápu prostě, jo. Protože ty si zahraješ nějaký modpack, třeba Realcraft, a ten bude zajímat prostě víc lidí, protože víc lidí zajímá Minecraft, ale zajímá je třeba ten modpack prostě, jo. To docela chápu. A u té Subnautiky je takový složitý, protože ty máš opravdu třeba 3 mody, které jsou jako playable, že jo. Je to tak, aby nemůžeš vlastně tahat, pořád točit do kolečka, no.
Subnautica games take about 4 years to release in between each one. Of course, Below Zero came out in 2021, and in 4 years, that would be 2025. I'd see the game at latest be released in 2026 if they had technical issues or issues with the game, or if the game is just bigger in general. I'd also see some...
Protože se ptají, proč na kaši. Kámo, má snad víc videí ze Subnautiky než já, ne? What the fuck? Ty vole. OK, tak to je síla, no. On nemá dohranou Below Zero? Co to je za pliba, ty vole? Ježíš, to je amatér. Nemá to dohraný, člověče? Má? No, tak teda nevidím jakoby nikde ten. Jo, takže akorát nemá na YouTube. Tak to je ale veliká chyba, člověče. Kolik to má, člověče? U mě? Jo. 52 videí. A tohle je ten můj první průchod hrou. Ne. Tohle je první. Tohle to je, jo, tohle byl kámo pokus o HCčko. Jo, tohle byl pokus o HCčko, to byla veliká chyba. A tady je dead mode, no. Jo, a tohle to je druhý průchod hrou. To byla 2.0. A tady je dead run. A pak teda ještě jakoby někde vedle toho je to Below Zero. Někde. Jo, takže taky to má dohraný, už to vidím. Možná kámo tý Below Zero dám taky někdy prostě znova šanci, no. Třeba.
Subnautica 3 only being for new gen consoles and PCs because I feel like it could be unstable for PS4 and Xbox One users, and by then most people should have had an upgrade. Now this is all the official news that I have.
Vážně dobrý point je to, že Subnautica je jedna z mála survivalů, který je úplně v pohodě hratelný na konzolích. Ty tam nemá žádnou střelbu, nic. Prostě doslova akorát jdem jakoby se hejbeš, že jo? A to je všechno.
Gathered, but we do have a lot more to talk about, such as multiplayer and how the story will be told in this game, as well as leviathans and fauna of the game. As we all know, multiplayer has been one of the most requested features in previous games. The reason it will never officially release in those games is due to progression, most likely. Yes, there is mods that you can play with friends, but that's besides the point. It wouldn't be as an enjoyable game to play for the first time with friends.
Já tady řeknu, že za mě multiplayer je prostě problematický v tom, že potom ta hra není, potom ta hra není hororovka prostě. V koopu z toho neuděláš horor.
Because the whole purpose of the game was that feeling of you not being alone in those really deep down areas. With a friend, you could be less scared, one person could distract a mega leviathan and bypass it way easier. The game was never intended in being multiplayer, same with Below Zero. We also saw how
Můžeš obětovat spoluhráče, aby ho sehrál leviatan a ty ho obědeš. To je úplně geniální, kámo. Takovej asymetrický koop bych jakoby řekl.
how underwater in Below Zero that in some areas would get tight, so with multiplayer with 2 sea trucks it would be almost impossible to navigate. But we saw that both games are way different in terms of how big the map is. I feel like Subnautica 3, they could implement such a things, but they have to give it the right balance. Now, we never got confirmation on multiplayer, but it was the most requested feature, so they should look into this, I'm pretty sure, right? Subnautica was by far one of my favorite games at the time. The storytelling was perfect for me, and it was not narrated by a 100% linear storyline, but more of you had to go explore and find the lore.
Já se takhle tě přiznám, že u té Below Zero mě strašně vytáčí to vyprávění toho příběhu tím dubbingem. Mně vlastně přijde, že u té jedničky tak nejlepší formát vyprávění toho příběhu je přes ty PDAčka. Ty prostě procházíš úplně vlastně mrtvou planetu a zjišťuješ, co se jakoby dělo. A není tam žádná Margarit, není tam žádný Alan, není tam nic. A v tom je to právě jakoby, v tom je to právě daleko víc jako hororový. Ta Below Zero je taková hodně jako streamlinovaná, díky tomu takový vlastně standard, no.
Yourself, such as finding those sunken pods, alien life form, different creatures that give you a variety of information, and the huge ship that crashed down into the planet has a lot of useful information. In theory, you could progress on your own time, and you didn't really know 100% what was your next move. In Below Zero, you followed the story of your character, and you knew a lot more of what was going on and more character dialogue, and this is why both games are separated in the community. Don't get me wrong, both of these games I really love though. In the sequel, I hope they find a middle ground of both of these or even something new that the community will love. Will it be more driven around a storytelling, or will you have to go find...
Já ještě tady doplně člověče jednu věc, já bych fakticky chtěl, aby byli připravení na DLCčka. Že já bych chtěl, aby byla základní hra, která bude updateovaná třeba po roce, po 2, prostě, ale jakože realisticky. Oni to zvládli u 2.0 úplně v pohodě, tak to zvládnou i u tohohle.
Information for yourself. What would you guys think would be the best way to go at this? Graphic-wise, in both games, they had really good visuals. Below Zero, yes, had more going on, and I really...
Dobře, tak sváně, jsem jakoby fakt jedinej, koho ta hra zajímá? Nebo takhle, asi nebudu tady v chatu jedinej, protože ty si tady dokoukali celou Subnautiku, jo, ale jakoby je opravdu ta hra jakoby tak mrtvá, jakoby mezi casuals komunitou, protože já mám pocit, že spousta lidí, kteří třeba hráli Terrarii, tak hráli tohle. Chápete mě, že to je taková ta basic hra, kterou by si měl prostě člověk jakoby zahrát, jo. Je třeba Forest je jakoby hrozně hardcore, ale tohle to je fakt taková základní hra mi prostě přijde. Výborně, takže to vidíme všichni stejně. Takže akorát zoomeři jsou prostě ty vole zase mimo. Yes.
Like that, I would get lost in my own world exploring what the game had to offer, and hope to see this type of visuals in the next game. With Unreal Engine 5 coming out, we have Nanite and Lumen. This is for more realistic reflections, lighting, and much more. Have to offer, and hope to see this type of visuals in the next game. With Unreal Engine 5 coming out, we have Nanite and Lumen. This is for...
Tak seš úplnej čurák. Proč? Proč máte solární panely takhle dole? On to stavil v tom? On to stavil ve Forestu. Aha, zajímavý člověče. Tohle může fungovat takhle ohromný? Vidíš ty okna? Vidím ty okna, no. Mě to se kámo zajímá, kam ten typek dal ty výstuže. Jo, on má výstuže pod těma, jak se to jmenuje, záhonkama.
More realistic reflections, light.
No tohle ale vypadá fakt strašně dobře, ty bylo.
Engine 5 coming out, we have Nanite and Lumen. This is for more realistic...
Tohle nádherný třeba. Tohle to si myslím, že se nedá asi v základní hře postavit. Tohle to je Below Zero. Jakože toto je taková ta klasická Minecraftí báze, kde si člověk řekne, ty vole, to vypadá dobře. Jakože to vypadá zajímavě prostě, protože to je obtočený okolo toho, co to je. Okolo toho Floating Islandu, že jo. To je moc pěkný, no.
reflections, lighting, and much more. So imagine what they can do with that. A couple more things that I can observe is the fact that we have different vehicles, specifically 3 in each game. In Subnautica, we had a Seamoth, prawn suit, and the Cyclops submarine thing. In Below Zero, we had the little scooter thing that went on land, a sea truck, and again, the prawn suit.
Yeah.
In Below Zero, we had more land to explore. This was kind of cool, yes, but Subnautica is an underwater game. I hope they can also find a good equal ground between both of these and maybe have a bigger world to explore with different types of fauna. In Below Zero, we saw a lot of ice, and I mean a lot of it. That was the only thing that was going on for that game. In Subnautica, we saw a lot of different types of biomes. I wish to see more than just one biome in Subnautica 3, though. As I said before, we only see 3 vehicles in both games, so we'll probably see upwards of 3 or more vehicles in Subnautica 3. We also saw different Leviathans in the game. I kind of hope to see one that is maybe freed by making a decision in-game. Like in Below Zero, we had that one that was like kind of frozen in ice. Maybe we could like accidentally melted or something, you know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong, both games had really good Leviathans. In my opinion, I was scared whenever one of them was chasing after me as...
Počkej, doplním to, že člověče by možná by bylo docela dobrý dát dokupy to, že by prostě se mohli úplně v pohodě stavět báze na souši. Ale jakoby ne jako na souši odděleně, ale že se dají stavět i na souši, i do vody. Protože celkově bych řekl, že nejlepší je taková ta tropická, takový to tropický zasazení, který je v jedničkách. Že tam máš Island 1, Island 2. A u té Below Zero je to takový prostě z nouzecnosti. Proč by ne? No právě. Však jdou. No ale hrozně omezeně. Já to, že to jde. Ale tak prostě ty tam máš jakoby úplný základ, že jo? Já prostě bavím teďko o tom, že že ta hra tě nedonutí, ale navnadí to udělat. Tak jsem to myslel.
Probably a lot of other people. So now begs the question of what you guys would want to see in the game. Leave a comment down below.
Jak jako omezeně je to dobře, asi se nepostavíš Moonpool. Dobře, možná ho postavíš a dáš tam pro, budeš úplný čurák, prostě chápeš. Jakože bavím se teďko o tom, že budeš prostě mít nějaký multifunkční baráky, který třeba fungují jinak ve vodě a fungují jinak na souši. A na základě toho ty budeš potom moct jakoby prostě multiformně přeházovat ty věci. Prostě akorát ve zkrátce bych to prostě uzavřel, že by to chtělo víc prostě možností nastavení, to je všechno.
I'd love to hear your guys' answers, and with that, that's all the info I have on Subnautica 3. I hope you enjoyed the video and leave a like and sub if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Jako to nám toho teda týpek moc neřekl, upřímně, jo. A tohle je ta ukázka toho Unrealu. Počkat. Co z toho by třeba mohlo být takový pravdivý, ty vole, tohle, jo.
On and what we might have some more exciting news for you in the new year. Welcome back to Subnautica, more specifically the Subnautica 2.0 update. And that exciting news in the new year, that was taken from the 2.0 news post mid-December last month. A fairly significant update for Subnautica 1 that was needed for the next Subnautica game. And as you can see right here, the large room from Below Zero with its glass roof is
Proč jsou ty skleněný patra tak strašně
now in the original Subnautica along with the glass roof for this habitat here. And interestingly enough, when I try to use the command sub sea truck to spawn in a sea truck, it seems it's trying to spawn it in maybe or do something, because the sub command does work for the Cyclops, but the sea truck is not spawning. Honestly, this kind of makes me wonder why they haven't brought the other Subnautica Below Zero assets over to the base game of Subnautica, or why we're exactly not allowed to.
Nejlepší věc na Below Zero je to, že ingoty stojí 5 titánů a ne 10, ty vole. Ono se to jakoby zdá, že to není rozdíl, je to strašný rozdíl.
Mod them into this version of the game. I mean, they are bringing Below Zero assets over from Below Zero. So, I mean, why can't we bring the rest of it over?
Tak já tady posunu tady, ano.
Yeah, that. So, with the 2.0 update out now, I can only assume it's full speed ahead with the next Subnautica game, which is going to utilize the next generation of tech from Unreal Engine 5, shifting away from Unity. It offers substantially more than the current game's platform as well. And even more great news for modders. Though I don't know if it's great news for modders because it means they're going to have to learn how to use UE5 and its dev kit opposed to what they're currently using. But just how will Subnautica look on Unreal Engine 5? What's planned? Well, we already have an understanding of one vision from David Kalina, the project lead at
Já se
Unknown
akorát, kámo, prostě bojím toho, že ta hra bude taková zbytečně realistická. Mě se strašně jakoby baví ta komiksovost té hry.
Worlds, who we believe is working on the new Subnautica game. David specifically said during an interview he dreams of visiting new worlds, exploring intricate alien ecosystems and lost civilizations, and going as far to say, quote, "I don't think I'll ever get tired of the fantasy of making contact with intelligent life. I also dream of going on adventures with friends, getting lost together." I'll talk more on that later, but we also know with his closing sentence of getting lost with friends, the next Subnautica game is set to be multiplayer. It's also been confirmed that the next Subnautica will have water. Thanks, Obraxis, because
Jo, takže tohle je potvrzený, jo.
Subnautica will have water.
Takže Subnautica 3 bude ve vodě a bude v Unrealu 5. Nic, jdu je taknout. It's time. Subnautica. Tak, potřebujeme chat nějak strašně vyhlásit. Nápady? Guys, can you please release Subnautica free before GTA 6? Takhle v pohodě? Názory? GZA 3, ano. Petře, podle mě jsme to začali, to je třeba vůbec nezajímá. Je to moc ofenzivní. Co je na tom ofenzivního, vole? Jsem se to máš zeptal. Angry People Noises. Označ vývojáře. Jo. Tohle to vyznělo podle mě líp, ano. Good. Yes, výborně. Could you pretty please release Subnautica free before GTA 6? Co to je pleading smileyk, ty vole? Jak to do prdele vypadá? Jak vypadá pleading smileyk? To je tohle? Ne, asi ne, co? Tohle? Ježiš. Co je s tím browserem dneska? Easy, běžte to prosím vás lajknout. Ak to taky má nějakou trakci, ty vole. Třeba se toho všimnou. Tak zpátky, jo, dobrý.
Thanks, Obraxis, because you can't have a Subnautica game without water. Without water, there is no thalassophobia, and we all are real junkies for that fear of the unknown. I did poke Obraxis for some additional information, and the best I was able to squeeze.
Já bych spíš chtěl Kingdom Come 2. Tam já úplně vidím, jak to všechno vyjde v jednom roce. Subnautica 3, Kingdom Come 2 a GTA 6. Jo, děkuju, zlato. Děkuju, já už to mám zaplý. My se taky tady snažíme dropnout z Overwatche jeden skin s Mirkou. A oni mají dropy na streamu po 8 hodinách. Korejci, ty vole, to mají prostě úplně WTF.
Out of the guy was that the next Subnautica game is being worked on, the team size is growing, and they are figuring out how they will talk.
Jděte mi lajknout ten tweet. Nebudu to říkat dvakrát, bože můj. Ještě Stalker? Jo, ještě Stalker samozřejmě, ano.
To you about it officially. No. Hence why there is more exciting news in the new year. But just how would Subnautica look on Unreal Engine 5? It's got a vastly superior system for aesthetic compared to any other engine currently out there. Well, I've found a lot to do with Subnautica and Unreal Engine 5. As a matter of fact, you've already seen some crudely set up scenes of how the next Subnautica could look in the future with vastly superior.
Also, please release Silksong. Can somebody please talk to Team Cherry when Silksong is coming? I hope it is coming soon. It was a very long time. Ano, přesně tak, ty vole. Já to úplně to prostě vyjde všechno během jednoho roku. Já to úplně vidím, jo.
Graphical quality.
No. Čete, tohle je prosím vás můj gameplay. Tady přesně vidíte, tohle je 15 hodin mýho gameplaye. Ano. Tohle je krmivo, tohle je robo a tohle je Simut 1. Přesně.
There's also been a lot of inspiration from the community, as we're now seeing actual industry professionals creating their own take on Subnautica in UE5, and they are mind-blowing. Take these for example. They were created by Junk Harmony on ArtStation. They're a junior environmental artist who wanted to recreate...
Ty krávo. Tohle je Below Zero? Tohle je Below Zero, to jsou ty báze, že jo, který tam jsou. Ty píču, tak to je úplně šílený tohle, ale. No. A to všechno dělá jenom engine, ty bláha.
Create concepts for Subnautica in the next generation game engine.
What OK, tak možná, že to beru zpátky, možná, že ten realistický mod vypadá fakt dobře, ty bláho. No takhle, buďme féroví, toto čete je dneska úplně v pohodě možný, ne? To podle mě, třeba ty vole i Fortnite, jakoby v Unrealu 5 trojce vypadá jakoby reálně líp. Ne líp, no ale jakože fidelity prostě, jo, že tohle bych řekl, že je prostě overall úplně v pohodě prostě. I jakoby na slabších grafikách.
The buildings look more Subnautica-like than they ever have before. We have the opportunity to see ray traced shadows and lighting.
Nice.
The potential for way better looking water is now here. Everything about this just screams yes, and I am so happy they've decided to move forward with UE5. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and if you feel this is a graphical upgrade and improvement, or if you like the current style of Subnautica and the way it is. Personally, for me, this, I think, is gonna be incredible, because if you have a junior environmental artist or someone haphazardly putting together...
Já bych chtěl, aby to bylo víc barevný, no. Jakoby třeba ty chalouhy prostě, jak jsou zelený, tak oni prostě byli víc zelení, třeba. Tohle je takový jako hrozně nějaký, jo.
A scene in UE5 with the models from Subnautica using Unity assets that were never meant or designed with UE5 in mind, let alone UE5 didn't even exist when they were created as assets. I think we're going to be in for an incredible surprise once Unknown Worlds gets in there and starts putting together all the systems and functionality and creating all of the stuff in the new game engine.
No.
These are some of the most seasoned industry professionals in the world. So you know it's going to be beyond anything we're currently expecting. I would hope people from all over are inspired by Unknown Worlds and this game, creating their own small projects and visions of the next big release. I have a leading...
No tohle to vypadá jak Raft. Pamatujete se, jak jsme s Eliškou hráli Raft? Toto to vypadá jak Raft. Doslova takový ty prostě potopený baráky, že jo, a tak dále, akorát to je jakoby v lepší grafice.
Theory in my mind that makes sense because it picks up the pieces left behind by the community when they compare Subnautica 1 to Below Zero, while inherently keeping the integrity of why Subnautica is...
Tohle je přesně ono. Tohle to je přesně to, jak by měla vypadat trojka. Barevná hra, na schvál jakoby hodně silná saturace těch barev, aby to bylo prostě poznat, a do toho dobrá grafika. Tohle je úplně přesně ono.
Subnautica. We'll touch base on that soon, but various clues are being dropped. With UE5, the potential for lighting, specifically bioluminescent lighting, is astronomical. We all know how much Unknown Worlds enjoys putting glowing things directly in front of our faces to overshadow lurking danger just beyond the glow. New biomes would see levels of detail the old game engine could barely scratch. We would see a world larger than anything we've experienced this far as well, potentially. For example, with the new Unreal Engine tech, worlds vastly larger than the previous generation are now possible. For example, a game called Day of Dragons is creating a mega map. And this is thanks to world partitioning. A world 32 kilometers by 40 kilometers is now possible because of UE5, which is massive. The current Subnautica map, I think, is 3.5 kilometers by 3.5 kilometers. The whole map is around 4 by 4, I believe. But regardless, massive maps with incredible depth is now possible. And I mean depth as in how far down you can go. So, what if the next Subnautica goes back in time? Because I have two theories. One is more plausible than the other, but I think the other is more interesting. What if before the events of 4546B and the major containment event, we play as architects finding and exploring 4546B 1,000 years ago? The project lead, David, did specifically say visiting new worlds and exploring intricate alien civilizations. Being an architect would qualify those two statements. Though, in all honesty, life would not be that much different if you go back a mere 1,000 years. We would likely see all of the same stuff we've seen already. Unless...
Já mám teda člověče pocit, že ten element toho survivalu je jakoby lepší. Že prostě ty spadneš do vody a teďko poraď si, ty vole, jo.
We moved on to different areas of 4546B, but I'm not aware of just how far the architects explored. Imagine Subnautica based on entering the void, or beyond the void, the ecological dead zone.
They do not want us down there.
Welcome to Subnautica, Crater's Edge.
What?
You'd be the head of EEPPE, Extreme Environmental Prototype Protection and Equipment, a specialist from Altera that was a passenger on the Aurora who was experimenting with the new next-generation modules that increase the crush depth of the
Jako ty bych to má teda celkem vymyšlení, jako jo.
Altera fleet, namely the prawn suit, by an extreme degree. You're doing diagnostic tests inside a prototype pressure reactive armored waterproof nanosuit Prawn Mark V when the ship violently shakes and alarms start to sound. A massive hole now exists where there was once a wall separating you from the outside. Choosing not to leave the exosuit, and in urgency, you pull the emergency release handle, allowing the exosuit to crash down onto the ship floor, but the sudden decompression of the room sucks you and the experimental suit out the hole. At the speed the Aurora came into atmosphere, even jumping 10 seconds before impact would likely put you thousands of meters south of the original landing zone, significantly further than the void was ever explored. The exosuit will begin to sound alarms, warning of imminent impact.
Prostě spadneš de facto za tu void zónu ještě. Mimo to je ten prostor, no. A dobrý point, co tady píše Rednýs, tak je to, že v jedničce opravdu strašlivě chybí dok na Cyclopse. Strašlivě.
Hitting the ocean at that speed would be similar to landing on concrete, and lucky for us, we landed first. The initial impact would have knocked you unconscious, but you soon awake to high-pressure alarms blaring in your ear, and you see you're sinking 2,000 meters, 3,000 meters. It seems endless, and then the depth module splinters just after reaching the floor. You are at the maximum capacity of this prototype suit, but you have to push it further. It is stated the void, or dead zone, was home to microorganisms and leviathans, though it does not explicitly state ghost leviathan. Nobody has explored this deep. The creatures we would face could take on anglerfish characteristics or even something more sinister. Maybe there's forgotten architect deep dive tech. The architects were looking for a cure. Who's to say they didn't send out their own autonomous drones or submarines equipped to handle what might have been lurking at the deepest reaches of the ocean, just out there searching for a cure, forgotten, running off of depleting ion cubes, maybe even degraded architect submarines. You can't leave your exosuit because of the depth. However, this exosuit is modified and has built-in functionality for a fabrication station.
Ja, že by to byla taková soma, tím pádem trochu.
And onboard dynamic storage where you can access from inside the cockpit. It would also be able to recharge based off of geothermal activity. It would unfortunately mean you have no choice but to venture deeper into the dead zone in search of lava to keep your suit operational, but you would also have the opportunity to find new resources and construct a base with a prawn suit dock. Then you can repair your suit and eventually get to a safe depth where you can exit your suit and swim, maybe exploring brand new biomes or floating islands. And at these depths, it would make entire sense for more crustacean-based leviathan species, which I feel could be far more terrifying than any of the others we've seen. And we have seen a
No, tak by to hlavně mělo fungovat tak, že pokud ty leviatany jsi schopný zabít, tak by tě z něho měl spadnout nějaký skurveně dobrý loot prostě. Jo, jakože de facto teďko ty, co děláš, tak je to, že se akorát pořád snažíš obcházet to, co se ti snaží zabít.
Lot of concept art for crustacean-based life forms. You would have to swim closer to the surface of the water to find small fish that you can catch for food. Possibly even a cave system far under the crater's lava zone that had been entirely unexplored for thousands of years. With the use of UE5, the map size should not be an issue.
Aby z toho pak nebyl Dark Souls pod vodou, jako kdyby si roloval. Proti tomu leviatanovi. Že by leviatan ti dal levá, pravá, uprostřed, aby vzal roll, hit. To asi úplně také nedopadne, chápeš, ty vole, jo?
Finding the potential for many places to explore, maybe even finding signs of life far older than the architects, with more mystery and no answer. You've probably already noticed, but by now, we've already seen a bunch of Subnautica in UE5. I took some time and started learning a little about UE5, barring some issues because of my experience. We are closer than ever to having an idea of what Subnautica 3 could look like aesthetically. If I can create those scenes with very little game development knowledge, I can't wait to see what Unknown Worlds manages to do. Take this example footage of UE5 water and just underwater effects in general. You can see the shimmer of the light coming down and cascading through the top of the water. We see droplets of water. We see particles. I mean, right now, we're just in murky pond water, but we do switch over to a canoe, and we're actually going through a set of water here now with different wildlife, and just UE5 or Subnautica could be astronomically good. It could be the best thing we could have ever wanted when it comes to Subnautica and the aesthetic of the game. I know for a fact, regardless of anything else we have seen.
Bude těžký přejít s tím předchozích her. Já se člověče myslím, že ta hra už je tak stará, že podle mě hrozně moc lidí by s tou hrou začalo. A to je otázka, jestli se jim vyplatilo do tohoto vývoje jakoby opravdu nalít tolik peněz.
In this video, when we see what Unknown Worlds is working on and what they've decided to do with the new game engine, I think we're all going to be more than happy with that decision. Granted, we get a story we want to have. There is another concept that I thought was really, really good for the next Subnautica game, and it's Subnautica Void Calls. As you've guessed, this one also focuses on the void. In this concept of Subnautica 3, the gameplay is pretty well the same as what we know right now with the...
To jsme už řešili u toho módu jako takovýho prostě, že jo. OK. Jakoby ten koncept art je zajímavý. Samozřejmě prostě otázka, jaká bude realita v tomhletom, no, ale čeho bych se jakoby bál, tak je to, jestli ta hra opravdu jako vůbec vyjde. Jako doslova se ze Subnautiky 3 stalo nový GTA 6. Teďko. Nebo nový Silk Song, spíš bych teďko jakoby řekl. A je potvrzená, ano, je potvrzená, že ve vývoji. Ale nikdy k tomu nic neřekne. Tak to prostě takové občas bývá.